Okay, guys, we're gonna jump into it. This is Vicious E. What it do? We're gonna respond to a video Turfling Monkey did a little while back. To be fair, he could have completely changed his stance at this point, even though I doubt it. He's a stubborn dipshit, so he probably still holds this boomer-esque view of the world, which frankly just makes no sense to me. But we're gonna see if we can figure out his psyche today. So let's do it. Without further ado, this is Turd Flinging Monkey, Stoners versus Economics.
Hello everyone, this is Turd Flinging Monkey, and today we're going to talk about why we can't legalize drugs. I mean, what we can. It's just really stupid, and it's really bad public policy.
So you heard him. Legalizing drugs is really stupid, really bad public policy. Let's hear why.
The main reason why you can't legalize drugs is the same exact reason why you can't have open borders, and it's because of the welfare state. Prior to the welfare state, America had largely open borders. You went to Ellis Island, you took an oath, you signed a book, and you were an American, and no one cared. People came to America to find work. If they couldn't find work, there was no welfare state to catch them, and most people self-deported back to the country that they came from if they couldn't make it in America. Very similar to like the gold rush. People went to California to pan for gold. If they didn't find gold, they went back to where they came from. The recreational use of drugs and getting high is the exact same thing. I don't want an opinion about what you do with your body. You should own your body. You should do anything you want with your body.
Oh, how very kind of him.
However, when you make the government pay for your body in the form of free health care, disability, so on and so forth, you're no longer taking responsibility for your choices. You're making the responsibility other people's problem.
Okay, so there you go. Basically, TFM's point is we can't legalize drugs because some of these drugs became popular after, quote-unquote, the welfare state. Yeah. Because certain single mothers nowadays get public housing and a few $1,000 a month. We live in a welfare state. Everyone's just getting free money everywhere you look. This isn't the America I see. I see lots of people suffering, especially men. But apparently when Turd Flinging Monkey steps outside of his house, all he sees is just people getting free money and just spending it all on drugs and having partying and having grand old times. So never mind the hordes of men who can't get public housing or any bucks a month or anything from the government because they don't have kids. We live in a welfare state. And I'll grant you that food stamp benefits were, prior to COVID, relatively easy to get. Now it's a little more difficult. But yeah, now welfare has seeped into every nook and cranny of American culture. Ooh, whatever will we do? But whatever. Moving on. It sounds stupid to me, but you know, he's the high IQ right-wing genius. I'll defer to him. Right?
Namely taxpayers. So you destroy your body with drugs, and then you cry to the government and go on disability and use free health care, and then other people have to pay for it.
So, you know, the government, they start a war with Iran, Afghanistan. They cry to the taxpayers, and then the taxpayers have to pay for it. We have to pay for the bombs, the bullets, the grenades, the food to feed the soldiers. But I don't hear him complaining about that. He's only concerned about his tax money feeding Americans. You know, can't have it going to lazy Americans. That's the big issue here, because then they'll become dependent. Never mind that the government's become dependent on our taxes to destroy other people and to build up these systemic institutions such as the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex. Never mind that that's where all your tax money's really going. As long as it doesn't go to poor people, that's all that matters. Got it.
Since they are responsible for your choices, now they have a say in an opinion, and frankly they have authority to tell you what you can and cannot do because you are not responsible for yourself. If you got rid of the welfare state, you could do all the drugs because you're taking responsibility for the consequences of your actions. You're not.
Yeah, so as long as we don't have Medicare for all, he doesn't care how many drugs you do, as long as you have enough money to pay the doctor for your rehab. This is the way these conservatives think, dude. Just the most cynical fucking opinions you'll ever hear. With there's no deep thought in the reasons why these people are doing these drugs or anything like that. it's just very, just impulsive. Like, you see something you don't like, you smash it. Some people are trying to get over the border, you build a wall. The real geniuses, a lot of them.
Making it someone else's problem. This is my problem with the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a Libertarian, but I do not support the Libertarian Party because the Libertarian Party's official position is they support open borders and legalized drugs, but they're not putting the fact that you have to get rid of the welfare state first before you do these things. They're basically going to have the worst of both.
Why? Why do you have to get rid of the welfare state first? Why don't we make everyone? Why don't we make sure everyone's taken care of to the point where they don't need the welfare state? Then we get rid of the welfare state. Why does it have to be? Well, first everyone has to pick themselves up by their bootstraps and just suffer, and like, why does it have to be? Well, first they have to prove to me that they're worthy of being helped. Like, who the fuck are you? And how do you know what these people have been through? That's all I'm wondering. Who the fuck are you, man?
Both worlds, and I understand why. Abolishing welfare is not popular. You're not going to win any elections if you campaign on abolishing welfare. But if you campaign on opening borders and making recreational drugs legal, you're going to get a lot of support. But you cannot do one without the other. You must abolish welfare.
Yeah, you can.
Before you legalize drugs, before you have open borders. If you do not abolish welfare, you are going to destroy your economy and your country.
Says you.
Now, if that's your goal,
the economics expert, let's not forget.
Fair enough. But don't pretend that you're doing anything other than trying to collapse the economy. That does not make good public policy. Now, that may be the direction we're going. In Colorado, we just legalized weed recreationally. So we are moving towards the recreational use of drugs and a welfare state, just like we're moving towards open borders and a welfare state. These are not good things.
Well, how do you know they're not good things? Because you don't agree with them? Because you think, in your opinion, that it's going to destroy the economy, destroy America? You don't know shit about economics, and I'm going to prove it in a second here, but I'll let you humiliate yourself a little longer.
And don't pretend they're good things.
Okay.
So when I explain this to someone who is arguing for the legalization of recreational drugs, they immediately went to what about alcohol? What about alcohol? Okay, let me explain about alcohol, tobacco, and other things.
Oh yeah, break it down, brother. Break it down.
Alcohol and tobacco and other things predate the welfare state, and so they got grandfathered in.
Oh.
That's the beginning, middle, and end of the argument.
That's the beginning and end of it, dude. Alcohol was grandfathered in. That's it. Alcohol was grandfathered. It's a part of our culture. Now, the fact that you think alcohol is legal because it's a part of our culture, I don't know whether you're being deliberately obtuse or if you're just a bad faith actor or shill, but alcohol was illegal during Prohibition from 1920 to 1933. I think you know that. You don't bring it up once during this video, but whatever. I swear to God, he doesn't bring up Prohibition once. You'll see how he doesn't bring up Prohibition, CIA, or anything throughout his entire career. Very dubious, but whatever. Alcohol was a dangerous drug that overworked working class males. They'd abuse it back in the 1920s because it was a little bit after the Industrial Revolution, and they were paid shit, so they'd come home from work all stressed out, and they'd make their families' lives a living hell. More or less. Not all of them, but some of them. So America got the genius idea of handing over the entire alcoholic market to criminals and gangsters. Okay? That's what happens when you make things illegal. The criminals and gangsters, they take over the black market, whether you like it or not, whether it makes you feel comfortable or not, they're going to take it, and they're going to make a hell of a lot of money off of it. And that's what happened during Prohibition. It's indisputable. Okay, but it was okay though because the cops were on top of it, right? When you make something illegal, it's straight. All you have to do is you call the police, and they'll enforce it, and they won't. And then people won't do that again, right? That's how it works when you make things legal. Yeah, only it didn't work out that way. There was a lot of bloodshed and death during Prohibition. Okay, because when you hand over a high demand market like alcohol to criminals, they're going to, as we say in the hood, come up. And come up they did, on money, on guns, on women, through blackmail, extortion, etc. It was a fucking nightmare. Okay, so around 1933, after the streets were flooded with the blood of money-hungry mobsters and innocent bystanders, white America decided they didn't much appreciate the drug war going on in their backyards, and all these white people just dropping like flies in this asinine drug war. That was the first drug war to predate the drug war, Prohibition, in case you didn't know. Okay, so they legalized booze, so there was no reason for anyone to die over it anymore. It was a pretty simple solution. Now, I'm not sure why, but when it comes to other drugs like weed, coke, acid, shrooms, meth, etc., America decided gift wrapping that market and giving it to criminals and thugs would be a grand idea. It was as if we learned absolutely nothing at all after Prohibition. Okay? But it was okay because this time the most desperate people were trying to profit off those markets, and they tended to be of the darker shade. So it was a win-win for white America at the time. The darkies could blow each other away selling these products, and white folk could wag their fingers and pretend to be above it, even though all their kids were doing it. And even though it was only a couple generations back that their grandfathers were engaging in the same unsavory behavior. So you see how that works. White folks die in the street, you legalize the booze. The blacks and the Mexicans die in the street. Well, we'll let the drug war carry on till they fucking learn. Till they learn to just stop selling and doing it. Because it's bad. It's bad when they do the drugs. It's all bad. So really, legalizing or keeping drugs legal has jack fucking shit to do with the economy. I mean, except for the fact that after it's legalized and taxed and regulated, the economy would be fucking booming. Obviously, I'm dumbfounded by TFM's argument here. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I guess he's just too principled to even consider investing in a sure thing like a marijuana company and making a little extra money. He'd rather just keep it illegal and just, give all that money to El Chapo and the cartels and shit. It's really asinine. So back to his earlier point of how legalizing drugs destroys the economy. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my fucking life. Now, I'm not a hack like Turd Flinging Monkey. I can keep it real and keep it factual. So we're going to go to Wikipedia and we're going to see what actually went down during Prohibition. Okay? And we're going to see whether keeping alcohol illegal was a good thing or a bad thing for the economy. So it says right here, crime. It's difficult to draw a conclusion about Prohibition's impact on crime on a national level, as there were no uniform national statistics gathered about crime prior to 1930. It has been argued that organized crime received a major boost from Prohibition. Mafia groups and other criminal organizations and gangs had mostly limited their activities to prostitution, gambling, and theft until 1920, when organized rum running or bootlegging emerged in response to Prohibition. A profitable, often violent black market for alcohol flourished. Okay, it flourished. Prohibition provided a financial basis for organized crime to flourish. In one study, more than 30 major U.S. cities during the Prohibition years of 1920 and 1921, the number of crimes increased by 24%. Additionally, theft and burglaries increased by 9%, homicides by 12.7%, assault and battery rose by 13%, drug addiction by 44.6%, and police department costs rose by 11.4%. So this was a strain on the government's tax revenue, just trying to enforce Prohibition. This was largely the result of black market violence and the diversion of law enforcement resources elsewhere. Despite the Prohibition movement's hope that outlawing alcohol would reduce crime, the reality was that the Volstead Act, which is just like the official name for Prohibition, led to higher crime rates than were experienced prior to Prohibition and the establishment of a black market dominated by criminal organizations. So whether you want to believe that Prohibition increased or decreased crime, that's up to you. I think it's pretty obvious that it increased crime, but whatever, there's a little dispute there. But what there is no dispute over is that Prohibition definitely made the mafia and the gangs way more powerful and way wealthier, and it definitely put a strain on the economy. If you need a little more proof, we'll go on down a little bit. economy. According to Washington State University, prohibition had a negative impact on the American economy. Okay? Prohibition caused the loss of at least 226 million per annum in tax revenues on liquors alone. Supporters of the prohibition expected an increase in the sales of non-alcoholic beverages to replace the money made from alcoholic sales, but this did not happen. Furthermore, prohibition caused the shutdown of over 200 distilleries, 1,000 breweries, and over 170,000 liquor stores. Finally, it is worth noting that the amount of money used to enforce prohibition started at $6.3 million in 1921 and rose to $13.4 million in 1930, almost double the original amount. A 2015 study estimated that the repeal of prohibition had a net social benefit of $432 million per annum in 1934 to 1937, and about 0.33% of gross domestic product. Total benefits of $3.25 billion consist primarily of increased consumer and producer surplus, tax revenues, and reduced criminal violence costs. So, I mean, I can't really put it to you any simpler than that. When you make something illegal and you don't tax it, you're going to lose money. When you make something legal and you do tax it, you're going to gain a lot of money. It's as simple as it fucking gets. But lead it to the economic expert here, turf flinging monkey. I'm almost done. To the economic expert over here, claiming that keeping weed illegal is actually helping our economy is the most asinine fucking thing I've ever heard. We're losing money, and we're losing it to gangs, and these gangs are getting more powerful by the day. And I'm going to leave a link in the video's description to a fellow named OG Shadow. He'll tell you all about the cartels in Mexico, how they're coming up and taking advantage of this drug war at the expense of literally everyone who wants nothing to do with that shit. Okay? Now let's let this fucktard continue a little longer.
People in America were already smoking tobacco and were already drinking alcohol prior to the welfare state.
Okay, people in America were also already smoking weed. Maybe not at the scale of alcohol and tobacco, but there were people smoking weed. Maybe there wasn't a demand for it back then, but in 2020, there's a fuck of a lot of demand for it now. So we're losing a lot of money. I don't see how you can argue against that. What kind of mental gymnastics you'd have to feed yourself to believe anything otherwise, but I mean, you'd have to talk to this dipshit. Don't talk to me about it.
So once people are used to something, once it's culturally normalized, you can't take it away. So the problem with most recreational drugs is people weren't using them prior to the welfare state. But comparing, let's say, magic mushrooms or marijuana to alcohol, yes, alcohol is more dangerous. And if alcohol wasn't socially acceptable until after the welfare state, it too would be banned for the same reason. It only gets a pass because it was grandfathered in prior to the welfare state. It's very similar to the way...
Yeah, so, no, it doesn't get a pass because it was grandfathered in. It gets a pass because we tried making it illegal. It was a fucking disaster. Okay? Everyone knows this. He knows this. He's not bringing it up because he knows it'll make his entire argument fall apart because he's a hack and a bastard.
Aspirin. It existed prior to the FDA, and so it's available over the counter. Aspirin actually has some side effects. If you take too much aspirin, you could damage your organs. Due to that fact, if aspirin was invented later, it would be a prescription-only substance. But because it was grandfathered in, because it was normalized and normally used every day in America prior to the FDA, it is still over the counter to this day, and that's it. So you could say, oh, that's not being consistent. I'm explaining the situation. When something is normalized in society prior to the welfare state, it's not going away because it's already socially acceptable. But things like magic mushrooms, all these other drugs that people use, they didn't become socially mainstream until the 60s, well past the creation and expansion of the welfare.
Alright, so we're about 4 minutes and 47 seconds in. He hasn't mentioned prohibition once, and he never will. Spoiler alert.
State. And that's why they're illegal. So get rid of the welfare state and do whatever the fuck you want with your body. And the last thing I want to bring up is this idea of the medicinal use. Please stop pretending this is about the medicinal use of these substances. So we have CBD oil, which is basically marijuana without the stuff that gets you high. marijuana actually does have medicinal use. And you can get CBD oil, which has all the benefits of marijuana but can't get you high. They don't just, oh great, we have CBD oil, I guess we're done here. I can now get the medicinal benefits without getting high. Thank you. You solved the problem. No. They want to get high. As soon as CBD oil...
Alright, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with getting high? You realize we're all gonna die one day? You want to spend every fucking waking instant on this planet sober? If that's how you want to live, that's great. But don't fucking stand on your high horse, okay? Sit on your fucking cloud of judgment saying that getting high is somehow wrong. Okay, there's nothing wrong with getting high, especially if you can get additional medical benefits from it too. It's just a fucking bonus. Where's the problem? The problem's fucking nowhere. There's no problem. I don't know. Maybe this is... I think he's responding to someone who made like very specific points on weed legalization. And maybe this is just what happens when you publicly respond to someone's very specific points. You end up making a fucking ass of yourself. But, you know, he's kind of an ass in general. So it'd be hard for me to believe that, you know, he just chose today to be an intellectual loser. I could pick out a billion videos where he makes an ass of himself over and over again. Even worse than this. This one was just pretty easy to do. So I don't know. Maybe this fucker has like stocks in Bud Light or Marlboro, and he doesn't want to see weed legalized. He doesn't want the competition. Who the fuck knows? All I know is that his arguments are the most poorly constructed things I've ever heard. He makes zero sense when he's not talking about scientific things like biology or virology. Politics and philosophy are where he epic fails. And this video just proves my point. You never hear this weirdo ever bring up the failure of the drug war, the CIA intervention, because these factual talking points directly, succinctly, and effectively contradict most of the garbage he's spewing. Most of the garbage he's probably assimilated into his belief structure. And I truly pity the nerds on the right like TFM and Ben Shapiro, because I can tell how vapid and empty they really are on the inside. It's not hard to see. Whether it's Ben Shapiro bitching about Cardi B being a hoe, or Turd Flinging Monkey bitching about drugs. It's like they were born cranky old men, and they inherited all the lamest, most boring parts of the autism spectrum, and none of the artistic, snazzy, and sexy parts. It's really tragic, actually, if you think about it. You know, it's like a homeless person stinking up your favorite city block. You know, no offense to the transients, man. Hang in there, brother. I'm right there with you. You know, I have to clean up the right-wing excrement they leave all over the internet before a small child accidentally steps in it. Okay, it's not fucking fair, but here I am. And I just want TFM to know, you know, he doesn't make one good point in this video, but let's let him continue. Jesus Christ, I don't know how much more of this bullshit I can take.
Becomes accepted. Oh, this is like real medicine that has real value. Okay, great. Oh, now I want to get high recreationally, because that's what it was always about.
So he's against medicinal.
Don't pretend that it's not.
And
as far as magic mushrooms, which is the subject I was talking to this guy back the other day that inspired this video, I looked into it. This guy was saying that magic mushrooms cure Alzheimer's, which is fucking retarded. The magic mushrooms can help with like depression and anxiety. The thing is,
yeah, I think he's referring to the guy he was responding directly to in the video. I guess I don't know.
So does lion's mane mushroom. There are mushrooms that give you the same benefits of psychedelic mushrooms without the acid trips, without the hallucinations.
Hey, guess what? I want the hallucinations. I want the trips. You know why? Because it's enlightened me to a point where I'm more smarter than you. I know I just said more smarter, ironically. But anyway. But yeah, I truly think, yeah, I'm more enlightened than you, because you're not making any sense, and you're being dishonest, and you're not bringing up prohibition, and you're not talking about the CIA. So how is not doing mushrooms, and how is not doing acid, and how is not smoking weed made you any smarter than anyone else? It hasn't. It's made you a fucking hack and an intellectual loser, and anyone willing to open their fucking eyes can see it. So you haven't won anything by avoiding these drugs. You've lost out. You've lost out. You're like a fucking you're like a little boy who was born into the priesthood, who was told that sex was bad and you should never try it, and he just grew up just believing it, never having sex. That's how you're coming across to me, just as an ignorant loser.
Without all that dumb shit. Take lion's mane mushroom, which gives you all the benefits of the magic mushrooms, but doesn't get you high. Did you know lion's mane mushroom is completely legal?
Got it.
Yes. In fact, I take it because it works, and I don't trip. I don't have flashbacks. I don't like fucking start like tripping balls or anything. It just...
And I pity you for that. Sucks to be you.
You get the benefits without the bullshit. It's more about the dishonesty of the conversation. I've made it very clear.
Yeah, the dishonesty. You have made it very clear that you're a very dishonest actor, that you either know what you're talking about and intentionally just use selective facts to make your point seem better than it is, or you're just a fucking dumbass. You know? I don't know which one it is. It's one of the fucking two. All I know is you're not right. You're not even close. I know debunking you is really easy. This wasn't hard. I wasn't like up for hours on it. Like, man, how am I gonna like disprove his points? Like, it was fucking easy. I'm like, well, prohibition. That's like the only reason you need to legalize drugs, and it helps the economy. So, as you say in most of your dumbass videos, you're 180 degrees from right.
Clear that I have no problem what you do to your body as long as I'm not paying for it. But people think that like the conversation needs to go further, and they need to explain. Like, I need to.
Hey, dipshit, you're getting taxed anyway. You're getting taxed regardless. Okay? It's either gonna go to dropping bombs on people, or it's gonna go to fucking a squad car, financing that shit, or it's gonna go to helping someone pay their medical bills, maybe not die. Or it's going to go to a school, you know, buying books and computers for schools and shit. But you right-wingers, you never want to help anyone. I don't know why. Maybe you're just bad people. I tend to think you're all just greedy fucks who, you know, you think with your calculator instead of your brain or your heart. And at the end of the day, it's not really a values difference. Because if you actually were intelligent and you were smart, you know that being altruistic and helpful, helping your fellow man and your brothers, is actually the smartest thing you can do on the planet. That's how we've evolved as a society. Okay? If we didn't help each other, we'd still be living outside like fucking monkeys, like fucking chimps. Mankind decided, hey, you know what? When I take my family and stand it next to someone else's family, and they stand their family next to someone else's family, now we have a tribe. And when we take these tribes and put them together, hell, now we've got a village. We take this village and we enlarge it. Now we've got a town. We take this town, we invite a few more people to help each other out. Hey, now we've got a city. We take this city, align it with all the other cities. Now we've got a nation. That's how we've been evolving as a species. That's the trend. And it hasn't been a bad thing. It's been a good thing. Okay, we would have never discovered the fucking light bulb if we were still living in tribes, throwing spears and shit at each other. We would have never figured out how to build a car. We wouldn't have roads and highways and shit. If we were all everybody just out for himself, man. Just everybody just be independent and just it's all about me. It's all about you. No one help each other out ever. Okay, I get it, dude. Like, handouts, they're not the greatest thing ever. Handouts aren't the end-all be-all of solutions. But for God's sake, handouts are not as bad as you're making it to be. Handouts aren't what's destroying society. Certainly not. Fucktards like you, keeping everybody away from the resources they need and the help they need, that's what's destroying society. Talking about, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but you teach a man to fish, you feed him for the rest of his life. Okay, what if you teach a man to fish, and then you charge him 8 fish just to get to the fucking pond? How's he supposed to eat? Fuck you.
Somehow prove that these drugs don't have medicinal value, or that why is there an alcohol exception? And I can't explain it logically. What
do you mean you can't explain it logically? I explained it succinctly. Prohibition. That's why alcohol is legal, you dumb fuck. They tried making it illegal and they failed epically because they knew it was the most retarded thing they've ever tried in their lives. And it's failing with weed, it's failing with coke, it's failing with all the drugs. We've got more gang members walking around than fucking office people. We've got more thugs walking around than mailmen. This is your fucking drug war that you wanted, you idiot. And now you're bitching about it. How come all the women are fucking the thugs? It's not fair. Let's take away their rights. Dipshit. Gonna bitch about the problem you created?
Just give you the timeline that these substances predate the welfare state, which is why they were in wide use and why they're socially acceptable to this day. You may not accept that answer. You may believe because alcohol was grandfathered in.
It wasn't grandfathered in.
Every single substance that
Jesus Christ.
can be easily abused should also be legal because alcohol is legal. No. Sorry, that's not how the world works. So, get over it, get rid of welfare, stop.
I don't think you know how the world works. And the fact that you get on the internet and pretend that you do, it's detrimental to everyone stupid enough to believe your ass.
Crying about you can't get high, or just get high and risk going to jail.
I shouldn't have to go to jail for getting high. That makes zero sense. Who am I hurting by getting high? You should go to jail for spreading disinformation and lies. You're doing more damage than anyone's ever done getting high.
Anyway, this is the only video I'm going to make on this subject.
Yeah, because you know it's so easy to refute you, you won't debate anyone on it. You're not fucking slick, you're not smart. I know there's a reason you never debate anyone. It's because you know you get your ass handed to you. Because you suck. You're an intellectual loser.
I've made my point. I have laid out the path of legalizing drugs. You shouldn't be advocating for policies that make no economic sense.
And there we go. That's what it's all about to him. Economics. Economics are more important than a human life, than people not going to jail and suffering for bullshit. It's all about economics at the end of the day. If we just had a flourishing economy, then everything would be okay. Alright, so I'm done with this dipshit. He's really slow and should probably go back to kindergarten. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Yeah.